So, Animorphs number 7, The Stranger. There's 27 chapters this time, a little longer than last time, but Chapter 1. My name is Rachel, and you know the drill. I'm not going to tell you my last name, I'm not going to tell you where I live, I'll tell you all I can, because you need to know what's happening. But I need to stay alive. If the Yeerks knew who I was, I'd be dead. Or worse. The Yeerks are here, that's all you need to know. People look up at the stars and I wonder what it'll be like if creatures on our planet ever landed. But you can stop wondering because it's happened. The Yeerks are parasites. They live in the brains of our species, like humans for example. They turn human beings into mindless slaves, human controllers. So when I say aliens are here, don't go looking around for some cute little thing like E.T. You won't see the Yeerks. They're parasitic worms, evil gray slugs that live in the heads of humans. And they can be anyone. Your best friend, your favorite teacher, the mayor of your town, your brother, sister, mother, father. Anyone can be a controller. You might be a controller, so I won't tell you my last name or where I live, but I will tell you the truth. The truth that only the Animorphs know. Animorph. Animal morpher. A human capable of becoming any animal. It's our own one and only weapon against the Yeerks. Our only power, and with that we're just 5 regular kids. But with that power comes certain extra responsibilities, as I was trying to explain to my best friend Cassie. It was Sunday night, it was late, the circus had finished its last show. Their trailers and tents were clustered on the backside of the big city arena. The arena is a place where they hold rock concerts and ice shows and basketball games, and where they have circuses. Look, we both saw what we saw, told Cassie. Are you telling me it doesn't make you mad? That jerk using a cattle prod on an elephant doesn't make you mad? Of course it does, Rachel, Cassie said. I don't even like circuses. I don't either. My dad had tickets. It was our big once every other week father-daughter thing. I had to come. My dad had taken my sister with me to see a circus earlier in the evening. See, Mom and Dad are divorced. My dad does these little outings where we all get together every second weekend. Sometimes just me and him, like we go hiking together or ball games or gymnastics events. Those are all things my dad and I like, but Jordan and Sarah, my sisters, don't. But my little sisters love the circus. Though it's not my kind of thing. I guess I'm too old. That's when I drag Cassie along, so I'd have someone to talk to and my sister getting all excited over clowns and stuff. Still, it was an opportunity to spend time with my dad, which I do like. I don't get to see him as much as I wish I could. Everyone always says I'm like him, how he's kind of reckless and so am I. He always seems sure of himself and I guess people think I am too. We're even both into gymnastics. My dad almost made the Olympic team when he was younger. Of course, I never told my father about my other life because I couldn't, but I wish I could. He'd worry about me and all, but he'd also think it's cool. He's very big on standing up for what's right. I think he'd admire what I do. That would be nice, feeling my dad admired me. But there wasn't much activity in a little tent and trailer city outside the arena. I heard dogs barking, could hear laughter coming from a brightly painted trailer, could smell the usual circus smells, manure, hay, beer, cotton candy. There were security guards on the perimeter of the area, but I wasn't worried. I got one-on-one with Heart-Bajir warriors. After you've seen those 7-foot-tall walking razor blades, regular humans don't scare you very much. Cassie and I walked silently past those tiger cage. Those 3 big cats just stared blankly. It was night. They wanted to be in the jungle instead of a small cage trapped in a nightmare invented by humans. And then I saw the elephant pen. They were a sturdy fence around 4 big Asian elephants. They were a little different from the African elephant I knew well, but they were elephants just the same. I have kind of a special relationship with elephants, you see. Cass and I had come to the elephant pen for a circus, seeing the way their trainer treated them. He used a cattle prod. It was a stick with a massive electrical shock and used it to control the animals. Later didn't show make a big act of loving them, but I'd seen the prod, and I just sat there doing a slow boil all through the show, and I knew I was going to take some sort of action. The elephant trainer's name was Joseph something hard to pronounce. Well, he didn't know it yet, but Mr. Joseph, something about having an eye-opening experience. Seeing what's around? You know, Jake's gonna read you the riot act over this. I laughed. Read the riot act? That's something my mother would say. What does it even mean? Cassie shrugged and smiled her shy smile. I don't know, my dad says it all the time. I was trying to sound responsible and mature and parental. Look, I am going to do this. She sighed. Why did I let you talk me into this? Because you know I'm right. Cassie rolled her eyes. Just don't hurt the guy, okay? Me, Miss Peace, Love, and Understanding. He just better not show carrying that cow prod or I swear I'll... I noticed Cassie stopped walking and was giving me this sorrowful look, like she was ashamed of me. And I cringed. Okay, look, I'll just talk to the guy, turn off the look. You know I hate the look. You're gonna be a really good mom someday with a look like that. I found the gate to the elephant pen, opened it. I slipped inside while Cassie retreated in the shadows and watched my back. I moved slowly, not making threatening moves to alarm the elephants. They may be gentle, but they are very big, and you don't want to be in the middle of 4 upset elephants. I went to a dark corner of the pen and began the familiar ritual of focusing my mind. I concentrated on the elephant. My elephant. The one whose DNA was part of me, and I began to change. Chapter 2. People say I'm pretty. I don't know, and I really don't care. That is a big difference from the other books where everyone does kind of point out she's pretty, including Cassie, I noticed. But anyway, I'll tell you one thing, no one's ever seen me more than I ever used the word pretty to describe it. I felt the thickening in my legs and arms, watched my skin grow leathery and gray as mud. I felt the sun sprouting my trunk as my nose and upper lip began to explode outward. I felt my teeth in front of my mouth run together and began to grow and grow in a long, spear-length tusk. It was a creepy sensation, not painful but very creepy. I was growing big, more than big, gaining several thousand pounds. Several thousand pounds. I was about 12 or 13 feet tall, I had ears like beach blankets, I had a little ropey tail, and I was a full-grown African elephant ready to have a little, talk with Joseph something. I furrowed my trunk and let out a trumpet blast, the sound of a very angry elephant. "You could have warned me," Cassie whispered. "I almost wet myself over here." It took about 3 minutes for a train came rushing in. In the dark, all I saw was gray shapes. Yeah, I wasn't really hiding, but let's face it, when you're an elephant, you can't scrunch up and look small. But I was staying back until he was all the way inside. And then I lunged forward, pushing our tail elephant aside. He gave at me, What the? In a sudden fluid moment, as he stared in puzzle, I wrapped my trunk around his waist. Hey, you're not one of my elephants? Now here's the thing about elephant trunks. They're so subtle, I can pick up an egg with my trunk and never crack it. Or I can pick up a tree and throw it across the yard. Joseph something knew this. I wrapped my trunk tightly around his waist as I lifted him off the ground. His feet kicked helplessly in the air. His arms pounded weakly in my trunk. I looked up to him at eye level. "Hi, Joseph," said Jesus, not speak. What? Who said that? I'm hearing voices. "Me," I replied. "I said it. See, Joseph, I'm from the International Elephant Police. We had some complaints about you. This is crazy. This is crazy. What are you? Is this some kind of joke?" I squeezed him just a little tighter. Just enough that he couldn't really breathe well. "Now listen to me, because I could just easily squeeze you like a tube of toothpaste, so pay attention. You've been using cattle prods in your elephants, and that's a no-no." But, they're my property." This man was not getting the message, so I stayed in my trunk and held him right over the tip of my left tusk, like a worm about to be placed on a fishing hook. With one twitch of my trunk, I could make a shish kebab. "Now are you going to listen to me?" Yes, I'm listening very closely. "No more cattle prods. No pain of any sort. Do you understand me?" Yes, I understand. "Because I'll be watching, and if you ever hurt an elephant again, I'll come back for you. And I will squeeze you till you pop like an overcooked hot dog. You understand me?" "Yes." "Joseph, can you fly?" "Fly? No, of course not." "I think you can." And with that, I lowered my trunk almost to the ground. With a sudden toss and a deft twist of my trunk, I sent him flying. He landed safely on a tent, about, 20 feet away. "Now can we go home?" Cassie asked. Chapter 3. "You threw a guy into the air," Jake asked. "Wasn't that a little unnecessary?" "No, he made me mad." It was the next day after school, a Monday. We were walking through the woods. Me, Cassie, Jake, Marco, and Tobias. Of course, Tobias wasn't really walking. He was flying overhead in little hops from branch to branch. He stayed close so he could hear us. Red-tailed hawks have excellent hearing, but still had to stay fairly close. "Well, Rachel, you know I sympathize," said Miley, "but I don't think our job is to right every wrong done to animals. That'd be a full-time job, unfortunately." I looked at Cassie and she gave me a wink. We kinda didn't tell Jake that she was there too. Cassie and Jake like each other and she didn't want him mad at her. With me, it's a different story. Everyone knows I'm gonna do whatever I feel like. "We have other stuff to deal with," Marco grumbled. "The Andalite didn't give us his power so we could turn into the Animal Society for Prevention to Cruelty to Animals." "Fine," I said. It wasn't exactly what I was admitting I was wrong. "But what's got you so serious, Marco?" "Let's wait till we find Axe. I don't want to tell the story twice." So we tromped noisily through the woods. I felt a surge of excitement. You couldn't miss a tension in Marco's voice. Something was up. There was a smell of danger in the air, and that meant action. I like action. I like doing things instead of just talking about them. Marco makes fun of me over it. He calls me Xena, warrior princess. But I'm not one of those morons who's just in danger for its own sake. It's not cheap thrills. It's about feeling like I'm involved in something important. And I mean, let's face it, as corny as it sounds, we're trying to help save the world. It began months ago. Now it's been months ago. I remember in the second book it was only weeks ago, but anyway. The 5 of us just happened to hook up together at the mall. It's not like we were a group really, not for that night. Jake's my cousin, we never hung out together much. Jake's sorta in charge. It's not something he'd ever ask for, it's just that he's good with responsibility. He's the kind of person you automatically turn to if there's a crisis. Probably the best thing about him is he can tell people what to do without sounding bossy. Since when don't you want to ever tell the same story twice, Jake teased Marco. I've known you to tell the same tired jokes 80 or 90 times. Well, that's your own fault, Marco said. If you just laughed the first time, I wouldn't have to keep telling them. Marco's Jake's best friend. Smaller than Jake, funnier, darker, more skeptical. But his suspicious nature makes him very good at seeing beneath the surface, and as much as he whines and complains, he's still there in the worst of the fight for making dumb jokes. Marco's changed lately, at least a little. He doesn't resist being an Animorph like he used to. I don't know why. Maybe it's because his dad finally got over the death of his mom. I don't know. Hey, look, over that tree, see? A baby skunk with its mother. Cassie, of course. No one else would notice or get excited about skunks. Let's run around over and pet them, Marco said. Cassie laughed. I handled skunks plenty of times and never been sprayed. Well, that's you, Dr. Doolittle. Cassie had been my best friend since forever. I don't know why. No one else does, but it seems we'd never get along. Cassie lives on a farm, but their parents are veterinarians. They spend all their free time in a wildlife rehabilitation clinic her dad runs in the barn, and they save injured animals. Cassie's very into animals, but she's not one of those animal lovers who can't stand people. She just thinks of humans as a different species of animal. Which, you know, you all are. Then there's Tobias. Back when this started, Tobias was barely an acquaintance to Jake and Marco, although I kinda knew him. He was a sweet, poetic guy, the kind bullies love to pick on. He used to have messy, out-of-control hair and dreamy eyes, so always seemed to be looking at something no one else could see. Used to. I also note that she remembers what Tobias used to look like, but Marco doesn't. So clearly she knew him a little better than Marco did, at least. Now he has these fierce, angry eyes that look through you like laser beams. He has brown feathers and a white chest and a reddish tail and cruel-looking talons and a wickedly curved beak. Tobias is trapped in a morph, and now he's a red-tailed hawk, a predator who lives on mice and rabbits and sometimes other birds. I still see him as sweet, gentle Tobias, but he's been a hawk for a long while now. The gift in the end, like the power to morph, is a wonderful weapon, but like any weapon, it can destroy those who use it. Here he comes, Tobias called down, thoughts as we use when we're a morph. I think he sees us. I heard the sound of fallen leaves being stirred, a faint drumbeat of pounding hooves on pine needles, and with a leap he cleared the fallen tree trunk and landed a few feet away from us. Axilmi Iskaroth Ishtil, we call him Axe for short, the sole survivor of the destroyed Andalite dome ship, the only living Andalite on planet Earth. He is the brother of Prince Elvingor, the one who warned us about the invasion and gave us the power to morph. Prince Elvingor destroyed my Visitor 3, leader of the Yerk forces on Earth. Hello, Prince Jake, he said. Hello, all. As much as I know Axe isn't considered my friend, it's a little bit of shock to see him every time. He looks like a weird cross with human, deer, and scorpion, but not really any of those things. His upper body and head are more or less human-looking parts. He has thin arms and many-fingered hands. His face is flat, with slits for a nose and two large almond eyes. He has no mouth, which is why thought speak is a natural language of Andalites. From the top of his head rise two stalks, each with an eye on the end. He can turn these eyes any direction he wants. They're completely independent of his main eyes. His body is that of a pale blue and tan deer or a thin pony. He has 4 legs and hooves, but his back slopes down so you'd never be tempted to think of riding him. And he has a tail. A long, thick, powerful tail ends in a deadly scythe-shaped blade. I've seen him use it. He can strike so fast that you and I see nothing but a blur. Hey Axe, Marco said, how's it going? It is going wonderfully. I was up in the hills yesterday and I was tapping one of those very large cats. What do you call them? Cougars? It was very exciting. Are you okay? Certainly, Rachel, and I not hurt the cougar, Cassie. Not fatally, but he will not try to eat me again, I think. He gave this strange anally smile, especially managed out of mouth. Marco rolled his eyes. I'm telling you, Axe and Rachel belong together. 2 of you are sick. Someday you should get married while bungee jumping into an active volcano. I squirmed a little, not because I mind thinking I was bald, but because I was really not interested in Axe that way. Okay, now we're all here, Marco. Maybe you can tell us why we're here, Jake said. I have some news, Marco began. Actually, Tobias and I both have some news. I glanced at Tobias sitting in a tree. Of course, he showed no expression, he just fixed his gaze on Marco. Marco swaggered a bit as we formed a circle around him. It's a tale of initiative, courage, and yes, brilliance. No, just tell us, Marco. Don't try and milk the suspense. Okay. My fellow Animorphs and visiting alien, we have found a way into the Yerk pool. Chapter 4. The entrance to the Yerk pool, I echoed. Where? How? I looked around the earth to see the reactions. See, we already invaded the Yerk pool in an effort to save Jake's brother Tom. It's not exactly a happy memory. I saw Cassie shudder. Axe's the only one who wasn't there for a little vacation in the Yerk Pool, Marco said. As the rest of you know, it's a huge underground cavern, practically a small city. It's under a school, but it's so big it runs beneath a fire station, a couple of gas stations, and most of the mall. Axe nodded. Yerk pools are generally large and elaborate. It's an important part of their life. The center of their lives, really. The pools are for the Yerks what forests and meadows are for Andalites. Tobias and I have been working on a pattern of surveillance, Parker went on. For last week, he followed our very favorite human controller, Assistant Principal Chapman, everywhere we can. Tobias tracks him through the air, and I follow him when he goes into a building. Why didn't you let the rest of us in on this, I demand? Marco shrugged. It's a two-person job, that's all. Jake looked as annoyed as I felt, but then I realized why he kept us quiet. Jake had been through a terrifying ordeal being infested by a Yerk. For 3 days he'd been a human controller, a prisoner in his own body. Marco was just letting him rest. So, I asked more patiently, so what? So where's the entrance to the Yerk pool, duh? Well, I was hoping to amaze and entertain your whole story of our brilliant detective work, but the short answer is, it's in a dressing room in the Gap, in the mall. That's the entrance. People go in looking like they're going to try and close, and they never come out. At least, they don't go out through the Gap, Tobias added. They come out through the movie theater. When the crowd leaves the movie at the end of the show, there's always more people leaving than went in. In for the Gap and out for the multiplex. Are these Yerks on top of popular American culture or what? Good job, Jacob made grudgingly. The question is now what do we do? Attack Exit instantly. Try that once, Cass said quietly. We didn't exactly win. There are dozens of Harbinger and Taxons down there, and human controllers, and he was there. Visitor 3. That's when Tobias trapped in a morph. Like I said, we didn't exactly win. We got hammered, I agreed. Actually, no, I'm usually all for going to attack, but the Yerk pool's just too big. A warrior is judged by the power of his enemies, Axe said stubbornly, but he didn't sound quite so enthusiastic about it. Attacking the Yerk pool's out, I muttered, but the idea occurred to me. Hey Axe, what can you tell us about the Cadrona? He swolled his head toward me while his stalk eyes turned slowly this way and that, searching the woods. The Cadrona is a miniature version of Yerk's home sun. It emits Cadrona rays concentrated in Yerk pools and is what nourishes the Yerks. That's why they swim in their natural state in the Yerk pool every 3 days. They need the rays. So the real weakness is not the pool, but this Cadrona, I said, this miniature sun. But the Cadrona may be many miles from the pool, the Axe explained. The rays may be beamed to the pool from almost anywhere. So although I'm in favor of attacking the pool, we do not expect to find a Cadrona there. I agree, but what if we didn't attack? What if we just spied it out? We might find out where the Cadrona is. Marco laughed. That's more like the Rachel I know. You're starting to worry me. You're sounding so sensible. How big is a Cadrona, Jake wondered. It would depend on how many pools I have to support. It might be as large as Cassie's barn, or the size of one of your human cars. The size of a car? Surely a bunch of all-American kids like us could manage to wreck a car, Marco joked. How much would it hurt the Yerks? That's the question. Is it worth running down there into the Yerk pool? We looked at Axe. It would depend. If they have a spare Cadrona, it wouldn't hurt them very much. In any case, they have one aboard their mothership, so we would not wipe them out entirely. We all sighed in disappointment. However, it would not be practical for them to shuttle their controllers back and forth to the mothership to keep them alive. So, what would they do, Marco wondered. How would Visitor 3 react? Visitor 3 is totally ruthless, I said. He'd save as many as he could, but he'd let the rest die. Yes, Axe agreed. It'd be a serious blow. They would survive, but they would be very weakened. We have to find this Cadrona thing first, Cassie reminded everyone. Whatever it is, it'll be guarded. Right then, I guess we all realized we were going to do it. We're going back to the Yerk pool. Jake shook his head slowly. Down the Yerk pool again. I still have nightmares about the first time. Yeah, Marco agreed. Done that. The Yerk pool, Cassie said grimly, looking away. I didn't say anything. I don't like talking about nightmares, but I did have them too. They were pretty bad. I am not very good at understanding human emotions, Axe says, but you all seem afraid, and your fear is beginning to scare me. Good, I said. I don't know if you believe in places like heaven or hell, but let me tell you, the Yerk pool is definitely not heaven. Chapter 5. What's for dinner? I asked my mom as soon as I got home. The walk in the woods made me hungry. Being outdoors always does that. So does fear. I just kept picturing the Yerk pool with cages full of involuntary hosts, humans Harbinger, temporarily free of their parasites. I kept hearing them, crying. That's what most of them did while they waited to be reinfested. Others screamed or begged for mercy. Or worse. My mom was standing by the kitchen counter. She was more dressed up than usual. She was munching nervously on some Doritos and kind of staring into space. Mom? Hello? She didn't hear me. Oh, hi, honey. What's for dinner? I'm starving. Your father's coming over tonight for dinner. He said pick something up. I felt my stomach clench. Something was wrong. Since the divorce, my dad never came over for dinner. My two sisters and I spent one weekend a month overnight at a city in the apartment in the city, plus the every other weekend outing, but he didn't come over for dinner. I wasn't hungry anymore. What's going on, I demanded. My mother got this worried look on her face she tried to hide. Your father said he wants to tell you, girl. He's supposed to tell you the other night at the circus, but I guess he forgot. The way she said, I guess he forgot, made it clear she didn't think that was the truth. I took her arm. Mom, I don't like cements, alright? So just... Doorbell rang. I heard Sarah running down the stairs. Heard Jill yell, stop running down the stairs, she'll break your neck. She sounded just like my mother. It almost made Mom and me smile. That'll be your father. I went to the front room. Sarah was leaping at Dad's arm and Jordan was hovering a couple of feet away. Jordan shot a quick glance at me. Unlike Sarah, Jordan was old to realize something was up. I shrugged and shook my head. "Rachel," my dad said, "how's my girl? Come take this back from me. It's Thai food. We have curry. We have pad thai. We have chicken satay. We have those imperial heavenly whatever you call them shrimp." Ooh. He had me a paper bag and he was being way too cheerful. My father's a reporter for one of those local TV channels. He does a lot of investigative journalism. Plus he anchors the news on Saturday and Sunday, so he's always wearing nice clothes, always has great hair, and he looks tan even in the total depths of winter. I took the bag to the dining room table and started to unpack the little white boxes of food. "Hello, Dan," my mother said, coming from the room with plates and silverware. Naomi answered, "How have you been?" Not even Sarah figured out this was not going to be a happy evening. They're being too nice. Too cordial. We ate a little and struggled along with some small talk, so finally Mom said, "Dan, just get it over with." My dad looked embarrassed, and he sent me a sheepish smile like some little boy caught doing something wrong. "Okay." He cleared his throat. He sat up straight in his chair as he was waiting for the cameras to come on so he could do the evening news. "Kids, I have something to tell you about. I've been offered a job. A better job. I wouldn't just be the weekend anchor. I'd have top spots. I'd be anchoring the 6 o'clock broadcast and 11 o'clock, and I'd do specials, maybe even some really important work." Jordan looked at me confused. That sounded like good news. "But there's one problem. It's not here in town. In fact, it would mean I have to move." "Where to?" Sarah asked. "Another apartment?" He forced a smile. "To another city, sweetie, and another state. 1,000 miles away," my mother added. You know, it's funny how the brain works. See, I've been through more bad things, more terror and worry, pain, sick, and what most people deal with in a lifetime. I thought I could handle something like that moving away. 1,000 miles away. "Congratulations," I said, trying to show an emotion. "It's what you always wanted." My dad wasn't fooled. He knew I was upset. "It's a job, Rachel. You know, it's the way it is. It's not like I won't see you kids. I know it sounds like a long way, but that's why we have jets, right?" "Yeah," I said. "That's why we have jets. I think I'll go upstairs and do my homework now. Wait, I need to..." I didn't slam any doors. I didn't throw anything. I just left. Let him know what it felt like. I told myself. Let him feel like when someone just walks away. I went to my room and locked the door behind me. I couldn't breathe. I kept clenching my fists and wanting to pound something. I think I would have cried, but I was just too angry. "Rachel?" It was him. He knocked on the door. "Can I come in?" I couldn't say no. It would have sounded like I was upset. "Sure. Why not?" He came in. "I'm guessing you're a little upset." I started to turn my back to him. "I see. Rachel, you didn't let me finish." Rachel, Jordan and Sarah are too young to consider this, but you're older. You can look after yourself when I work late, and they can't, and... the thing is, I talked to your mother about this, and she's not happy, but she says it's up to you." I looked at him. "What's up to me?" He smiled certainly. "Well, it's like this. Carla Melkinoff teaches in the city I'm moving to. You know, she takes in 3 or 4 promising gymnastics students every year. If you wanted... well, it'd be the best thing in the world as far as I'm concerned if you came to live with me." I almost asked to repeat that. I couldn't believe I heard it right the first time. Students of Coach Belkinoff have won 2 gold medals and a bunch of silver ones. "Dad, Carla Belkinoff ain't gonna take me as a student. She knows professional gymnast. I'm too tall. I'm not good enough to... Anyway, you're saying I should move out, leave Mom and Sarah and Jordan? You're the only one who can decide that, but as for the coach, you're wrong. You have talent, and I know. If there's something you want to do, if you want to make that your life, you could go places in gymnastics." I shook my head, not to say no, just to clear up the confusion. "Dad, are you asking me to come with you when you move?" "Yes, I know it'll be hard on you and your mom and your sisters, but we could make this work. This job pays a lot of money. You could fly back here anytime you wanted, every week if you wanted." Was he serious? It sounded ridiculous. Was he actually serious? I sat down on the edge of my bed. My thoughts are everywhere at once. Leave? Leave my mom and sisters? This was just because my dad felt guilty. He felt bad about leaving. This is about pity. He felt sorry for me or something. And I know it means changing schools, but gee, Rachel, I think it'd be okay, you know? I mean, for one thing, they have really good mountains there. We could do rock climbing on the weekends, go hiking, and it's a big sports town. I need someone to go with me to games and stuff. It'd be like the old days. And we could have said, and it's a much bigger city, so think of all the shopping. No, it wasn't pity or guilt, I realized, at least not completely. I think my dad was just feeling lonely. He was picturing himself lonely in a new town. "Oh man," I said, I don't know what to say." He nodded his head. "Don't decide now. I wouldn't want to. Talk to your mom and Jordan and Sarah too. You think about it. I just think... you know, I just missed you, sweetheart. We had fun trashing on the Empires at games, don't we? And hiking and remembering the time we got lost? Of course I remember. I just had to think it over, you know. I wanted to say, Dad, you don't understand. It's not about Mom and Sarah and Jordan. I have a date, Dad. I have to go to the yurt pool. My friends are counting on me. I'm supposed to be Xena, warrior princess. Supposed to go back down there, down to the last place on Earth I want to go. I have to think it over, I repeated. Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna go now. Okay, Dad. I love you, Rachel. I wish he hadn't have said that. I was doing fine till he said that, and then the tears started. Chapter 6. After my dad left, I talked to my mom. She said what I expected. She wanted me to stay, but it was up to me. She trusts me to think it through. Up to me. Great. I could hurt my mom and my sisters, or I could hurt my dad. Perfect. Isn't divorce fun? After I went to bed, I just laid there staring up at the ceiling. My brain kept churning like a computer you can't turn off. Too many things to think about. My dad, my mom, and the huge massive thing I didn't even start thinking about, my friends, the Animorphs, the war against the Yeerks. And finally I knew how to get out of there. I needed air and open spaces. The walls are just way too close around me. I climbed out of bed and opened a window all the way. I changed the t-shirt I sleep in to black leotard I usually wear under my clothes, my morphing outfit. I couldn't think about it anymore. I needed some space and not think about my dad or think about choices. I focused my mind and I concentrated just some time to think, I told myself, as my feathers became fingers and my toes curled into talons. I guess every kid has times where he wants to just get away, but I had the power to do it. I could get away from myself, even. I launched myself high into the night. I flew in silence, the wind rushing over without my wings never rustled a feather. The moon was low on the horizon, just a sliver. High clouds blocked the starlight. The grassy field just a few feet below me would have been black and featureless to human eyes, but I wasn't looking for human eyes. My eyes were so large I could hear a mouse step on a twig about 75 feet away. I could hear the beating wings of sparrows flying from tree to tree. I warned from a great horned owl, the night killer, the predator of darkness. I flew lower, close to the ground, letting the owl's mind search out prey. There were a mouse, a shrew, a vole, and all many little birds. They're all meat to the owl. I could descend deadly on a rat or rabbit, spread my talons wide, and strike. I could squeeze my talons till they burst the skulls of my prey, but no, I tell myself I wasn't Tobias. He had no choice to be a predator, but I had a choice. Like my father had a choice. He could just not move, and then I wouldn't have to make this decision. If he knew, if he understood everything, he wouldn't do this. He understands I was part of a battle to help save the world. But I couldn't tell him that. Not even my dad, because he could be one of them. That's what knowing about the Yeerks does to you. You look at everyone and wonder what's living in their brains. You know, I felt like somehow I just know if he was a controller. I guess I was in a close relationship with my dad. Right from the start, going back as far as I remember, we were always doing stuff together. I mean, I have this photograph from even when I was 3, staying on a balance beam, my dad holding me up and grinning at the camera. I loved the picture even though I looked lame in the outfit I had on. I kept it on my desk in my room. When my mom was pregnant with my little sister, Sarah heard my parents talking. Mom was saying maybe this time she'd have a boy. I know you always wanted a boy, told my dad. Oh, come on, he answered. That was years ago. I thought I'd have a boy to all the fun dad stuff, but I have Rachel. She's good at any boy. She's already tougher than most boys her age. Have you seen the vault she can do? My mom groaned. Don't ever let her hear that. Little girls don't want to be told they're as good as a boy. But she was wrong. I know it was sort of sexist and all, but I just thought it was great. My dad thought I was tough as a boy. That's cool. If only he knew what I was doing now, I thought. How could he expect me to make this sort of decision? I couldn't leave my friends, I simply couldn't. They were counting on me. We were going back to the Yeerk pool and they were counting me brave and strong, because that's what they thought I was. But if I was so brave and strong, why am I suddenly imagining a different life? Long away from the war of the Yeerks. Why was I imagining a life full of gymnastic classes and ball games with my dad, a place where I could just be a person? Where no one expected me going down a hell of screams and despair called the Yeerk pool? If I was so brave and tough, why was I imagining a normal life?